First, let me introduce Steve Wynn. Steve is president and CEO of Wynn Resorts. He was chairman and CEO of Mirage Resorts Incorporated for 27 years until it's purchased by MGM. Steve has been the visionary of the new Las Vegas. Slide 43, please. Redefining the Las Vegas experience and opening it up to a whole new set of customers. Wynn Resorts was one of the few selected by the Chinese government to be licensed to build a casino on the island of Macau. Now, Steve Wynn.
When I was asked to be on the panel, of course, I sat down and think about this. It's a very fancy company. And I wondered what I could offer to this conversation. Branding is such a hot item of conversation. It's become a thing unto itself, and to the extent that we discuss things like Microsoft and Coca-Cola, I can certainly understand that. But I come from a different place, and I come from an industry that all of you are familiar with, the hospitality and hotel resort industry, things that are commonly described as places that folks go. In many cases, places that people go who journey great distances and have that destination in mind when they begin the trip. Destination resorts, therefore, take on a certain significance in terms of subject to branding. But my experience and the driving force of my colleagues and I who design these places, who position them and dream them up, our gang are all focused on keeping the promise. In the end, whatever franchise the enterprise will ultimately achieve will be a function of its ability to keep the promise. That is to say, it's a better mousetrap. Plain and simple, it's about the product. Yet, if you have the capacity to design and build a better product, you still have to tell the story of it. You have to get through a lot of clutter, tense competition, plenty of advertising. And so I think that the story of branding, assuming that the product is a better product, comes down to some lucky moments. And I thought maybe it might be fun to share one of them with you. We were building Bellagio, and Mirage had been the leading hotel in Las Vegas for a number of years. When we got our hands on the Dunes Hotel and Country Club, we imploded the building, and we were going to set upon ourselves the task, the wonderful privilege task, of building the best hotel that anyone had built in any continent in any century. We used that kind of windy language among ourselves to describe what we were up to. But we took the task very seriously. We were very self-conscious about the fact that we had the money, the opportunity, it was our time and our place, and it was important not to screw it up, to take this opportunity seriously. And that's the feeling that dominated the design development process and led to the opening of the hotel. But there are things that happen that capture the public fancy. My wife Elaine and I are art collectors, and we were wondering how do you make a hotel in a very competitive environment like Las Vegas take on the true aspect of elegance. Everybody, of course, uses those kinds of words. Everything in this world is 5-star, everything is world class. We hear those words so often, they are truly obnoxious. We ignore them. Has there ever a hotel been built that isn't 5-star today? In China, they say 6 stars. You know, they don't know, they say 6 stars. At any rate, we were wondering, how do you imbue an enterprise with a true element of elegance? To find a common ground in this world today of elegance is not such an easy thing. There are very few subjects on which there is unanimous agreement about elegance and grace and beauty. Talk about music. One man's Pavarotti is another man's rap, and there's a fight on the middle ground. But yet there are a couple of areas that are sort of privileged in our civilized history. Music is not one of them, but fine art is. And gardens, beautiful plants and gardens are also privileged. There seems to be some kind of cultural unanimity that those are things that represent the lovely aspects, the elegant aspects of our history. And so we set upon a task to make the Bellagio elegant. And I remember the day that it happened. You know, you build these big signs in Las Vegas. And we were building this 200-odd foot tall pylon sign. And the sign company guy came to see me, and he said, look, Steve, it's January now. We're going to finish the sign in April. The hotel's not scheduled to open until October 15th. What do you want to put on the sign when it's finished? Do you have a picture of the hotel? Something about a show? I said, oh wow, we're going to have 5 or 6 months before we open on the Strip. And just sort of as an ad lib, impetuous, impromptu instinct, I wrote on a piece of scratch paper on my desk, in the way that people often do in hotels in Las Vegas on the Strip when they're advertising a star. And I was thinking of the days of Sinatra. The Sands used to say, now appearing and coming soon. Frank Sinatra and coming soon, Red Skelton or something, when I was a kid. So I said, now appearing, Van Gogh, Monet, Cézanne, and Renoir. Coming soon, Pablo Picasso and Henri Matisse. I thought of that as sort of a cutesy way of sort of sticking my tongue out at the guys up and down the street and positioning the hotel in a very informal way with a little bit of style and something unique. The guy from the sign company laughed. He made the Duratran face. We put the sign up, and the newspapers and the magazines of the region latched onto it as sort of a kinky, unorthodox approach, not to mention the cost of the facility, to what we were doing. It ended up getting us a cover of Time magazine, Der Spiegel, the LA Times, you mentioned it, you name it. Bellagio's opening publicity took on the momentum of an avalanche, most of it beyond our control and somewhat unexpected. It all worked out very well to establish that brand, that product, Bellagio, in rapid time, very, very fast, as a world-class destination resort, for which we were all grateful. The hotel achieved enormous initial success and has gone on to continue. But yet, after those kinds of fun stories, I have to say that the branding of Bellagio, as I understand it, or the Mirage before it, or Golden Nugget, or Treasure Island, has been a function of giving people a better product, a more satisfying experience, and therefore, in the end, I have to say this comes down to human resources, not advertising. That helps amplify a great product. But I've never seen an advertising campaign in my time that made a second-rate product into a first-rate